well, thank you, Anne. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Um,
Good.
Kate, I asked to talk to you today to talk about time management for small businesses
Mm.
because, well, first maybe you want to introduce yourself and explain why it is that we felt that was a subject that you could really help our community of users about.
Mm. Mm. Sure. Okay. So I'm Kate, called Kate Gerry Coaching Limited, and you can find out more about my website, kategerry.com, and Gerry is GERY.com, kategerry.com. I specialise in working with business owners who are overworked and overwhelmed. Usually when people come to start to work with me as their coach, is that their business is growing, and I quite often work with business owners whose business has really started to take off. So they've had some success, they've had a level of success, and quite honestly, when we start working together, the expansion is kind of overtaking the resources, if you like, that are available. And typically these are people who've pretty much done everything on their own, or maybe with a little bit of help from a team, but they're reaching that point where, oh my gosh, we cannot keep doing things in the way we've always done them. So that's who I work with across a wide range of industries. I'm working currently with an accountant, an HR consultant, an online business manager, people who have an online coaching practice, speakers, trainers, consultants. So a really wide remit in terms of area of business. But the thing they all have in common is that, if I could put it in one question, Anne, it's, is it possible to have a business that is successful, that I love, and maybe sometimes I don't love so much when it's taking me away from other things, but is it possible to have that business and have a life I love? Because so often the people I work with are sacrificing things behind the scenes. And for me, that's why time management is so important. There's so many courses out there, there's so many tips and things you can get online, and I know today I want to try and share some very practical things in this conversation. For me though, time and creating time isn't just trying to stretch time so we've got more of it to try and cram in the crazy to-do list I know we all have, and as entrepreneurs there's always a to-do list, right? It's always there, there's always stuff to do. For me though, it's the importance of creating time for me as a business owner, for the clients I work with as business owners, so that actually we can hear ourselves think. Because I know when we actually give ourselves space and we actually give ourselves time to process those ideas we're having, those are the ideas, those ideas in the quiet moments when we've been able to go for a walk or take a shower or just sit quietly rather than push, push, push. It's in those spaces and in that time that we really have the ideas that actually make the change we want to see in the world. And the business owners I tend to work with do have big dreams. They do have a big mission. It's why their business has got to a certain level of success, but they know they're not finished yet. And that's when we start working together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's why I wanted to talk to you because 10 to 8, we help people get some of that time back. They come to
Sure.
us because they run a small business and they want to spend less time on admin normally.
Yes.
But I think
Yes.
you can, the combination of the coaching you do and a 10 to 8 system, I thought that would be a really powerful help to a small business who needs to grow, who's growing rapidly.
Sure, absolutely. And I think, I mean, just to say 10 to 8 is a fantastic system. And it's one of the first things when I'm working with a business owner, we'll look at kind of what's behind the scenes a little bit in their business. And honestly, if they're still dealing with, the whole email conversation of, can I book an appointment? And yes, what about 2 o'clock on Tuesday? And then, well, I don't know, I can't do that, or I need to change it. It just takes so much time. And if you can actually just send a link to your calendar, that's a whole load of admin you've saved yourself immediately. So getting something like 10 to 8 in place really quickly is crucial. So it's a great system. I love it.
Great, thank you. And so when people getting too busy, they normally get to a point when they know it's too busy, and they do sacrifice a lot of their private time. But hiring someone else is really scary.
Sure.
And so what kind of tips, what do you get people to think about and to consider?
Yeah, sure. So it's very true that often when we're growing as a business, the first thing we think, I mean, apart from maybe help, is oh my gosh, who can help me? And we start to look around for people that can perhaps come in and support us as team. And like you said, Anne, it's a very scary thing when we've had control. And I tend to think business owners, we either are recovering control freaks, if you like. I'm putting myself in the category, by the way. Or I've also seen it the other end of the spectrum, where people want to bring somebody on board and go, thank goodness I don't have to think about this anymore. And it's a little bit like sticking your head in the sand. And quite honestly, neither of those extremes work very well, as I'm sure if you're listening to this, you may have experienced one or the other. There's somewhere in the middle that is the kind of right route, if you like, to take, but it's not always the easiest thing. So in terms of tips, what I would say is, before bringing in somebody else, have a look at what systems you've got behind the scenes. So we've talked about 10 to 8. That's a very simple system. If you're bringing somebody in to help you with appointment setting, managing your calendar, for example, just very simple things like that, having a system in place like 10 to 8 means that they can manage that system for you and can follow up and make sure calls are booked, rather than you paying them to now take over doing all the emailing, which, as you can imagine, would be a more expensive route to take. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And 10 to 8 is one example of that, so around the calendar, but it also might be, for example, I work with business owners who haven't really given any thought. Well, I'll put it another way. When you're used to doing everything yourself, so for example, bringing in a client, well, it's obvious to you that you'd invoice, you'd send them the welcome email, I don't know, you'd book their appointment, whatever it is you would do to onboard them, as it were. It's normal to you. And you don't have a process written down or anything as convoluted as that, but you just do it normally. Now, when you bring somebody else on board to help you, if all that stuff is in your own head, you've got to try and explain it to somebody, which is always more complicated than we think, isn't it, when we do start to do that? But B, that person can't really read your mind. So obviously, but a very simple tip I would give is, if you know you're at the stage where you've hit that growth point, just start to jot down some of the stuff you do as you do it. I'm not talking about writing a massive process guide here. I'm not talking about, a huge document or anything. I'm literally talking about a piece of paper and a pen and just bullet pointing as you go. Send welcome letter, make invoice, check appointment booked. It can be scrawled notes, doesn't have to be posh, don't even have to type it up if you don't want to. But when you then bring somebody in, you understand what it is you're asking them to do. And that's an area I see a lot of business owners fall down in, if you like, is they go, help, help, I need someone. And then we get frustrated when the other person can't do it as well as we can, because they're not in our mind and they can't see what's needed. If we take that responsibility, if you like, first, just to make some notes, it really helps us see where we can start to delegate a lot more effectively and a lot more efficiently. Now, I'll just add another tip again on to the end of that. When you do have somebody in place, ask them to write that process up, because as they're doing the tasks, they're going to see where the gaps are, because let's face it, we've probably missed some stuff out just because we take stuff for granted. I remember I was working with a lady who specialises in processes recently, and she gave the example. She said when she was training in processes, they all had to write an example of how to make a peanut butter sandwich out longhand, how to make a peanut butter sandwich out longhand, and then they had to follow it, the process they'd written. And she said that a lot of people in her class ended up with peanut butter all over their hands, because they'd actually forgotten to write down, to take the bread out of the bag and spread it. So that's a kind of funny example, but this is what we do as business owners. So write down what you can, notate and create that for you. As that
makes lots of sense.
Great.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
And you mentioned work-life balance and how important it is. I think it might be a good idea if you could get maybe back on this as to how, you know, once you got a system in place, and if you, you know, if you've managed to organize yourself so that the processes are clear. Can you elaborate on the work-life balance? Because I think that's very important.
Sure. And, you know, it's a real buzzword at the moment, Anne, and it has been for a while,
Yes.
hasn't it? It's like balance and, you know, having this perfect idea of, oh, I switch off and, you know, put my feet up. And there's another school of thought that talks about, and I'm thinking of people like, I don't know, Richard Branson here as an example. If you read work, you know, that he's written, it's, you don't actually, if you're running your own business and you're passionate about what you do, it's not about completely compartmentalizing and going, no, I never think about the business. For me, the truth is when I have downtime or I have time away from the business, and I do, you know, I don't have my email switched on my phone when I go on holiday, for example. Now, if you'd have told me that a few years ago, I would have thought you were crazy and I would have not known how that was possible at all. But for me, it's true when I'm away. Sometimes that's when I'll get my best ideas for the business. And so it's not about being completely rigid and saying, no, I'm on holiday, I cannot have this idea. But it is about allowing it not to take over. So for me, the work-life balance piece is about choice. It's about structuring your life and your business in a way where you actually get the choice. So when I'm on holiday, if I have an idea, I can just jot it down, but I'm not given by it to then have to go and set up all the emails and do everything. And I don't know about you, Anne, but my experience as an entrepreneur and working with entrepreneurs, we have ideas and they're closely followed by, and it has to be done yesterday.
Yes.
You know, and actually, I mean, sure, like sometimes there are definitely things to act on straight away. But often we create our own sense of panic in our own head. You know, we've had the idea, so we think it's got to get out there, it's all got to be perfect, and we set crazy deadlines and we stress our team out and all of that kind of stuff. And it just actually is in our own head, the time pressure, a lot of the time. Now, I'm not saying that's true all the time. Sometimes we're answering needs and there is a time element in it. But for me, it comes down to choice. And I want to go back to what we were talking about, processes and things. And then when I talk about systems and processes, you know, life happens, and it, you know,
Can you repeat this? Because I couldn't hear you properly.
So, which bit from where?
From the systems that you said, let's go back to systems.
Yeah, so to go back to that systems piece, you know, I'm definitely not saying to have everything perfect. You know, we're human beings and life happens, business happens. You do not have to have everything perfect behind the scenes. I know, looking on Facebook, it looks often like many other people have it all together. And I can pretty much guarantee you they don't have it all together, certainly not all of the time, okay? So just know that wherever you are at is right and perfect for you. And in terms of the work-life balance, sure, you're going to see where, well, Kate, hang on, it's not completely perfect because I'm working crazy hours. You know, I used to work till 3 in the morning regularly. And I lived in a tiny cottage, and the wall dividing my office and our bedroom was very thin. And honestly, Anne, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I would hear this knock on the wall and a disembodied voice, which was my husband from the bed on the other side of the wall, saying, "Are you coming to bed yet?" And I mean, always that made me feel like, oh gosh, but do you know what I would do? I would type quieter and I wouldn't print, because I was so caught up in what I was doing that I kept working. Eventually, actually, that led to burning out, which I'm guessing sometimes people listening to this, you might be nodding your head and relating to that. I don't know, but it wasn't a way to carry on working. And I would survive on very, very little sleep, because I was passionate about what I was doing, but also because I hadn't really put the boundaries in place. I was trying everyone. I was trying to get everything, like I was saying a moment ago, out there now, you know, and when I had an idea, getting out there now, not really planning my year. And of course, let's go back to work-life balance. I didn't plan holidays. So guess what? They never happened, right? They don't. If you don't plan it in, they don't happen. And then you get tired and cranky and miserable, and your amazing husband who is knocking on the door at 3 a.m. on the wall at 3 a.m. You know, how he stays with you, I'm not quite sure. He does, which is amazing. But I know what it's like when you're so taken by an idea that you want to just keep going. Work-life balance, this tip I would give around this is that, and we know as an entrepreneur, it's not quite that simple, is it? You know, it's not like 9 to 5. We go into work and we come home at 5.
Yes.
You get up. A lot of my clients will admit to perhaps not even getting dressed sometimes before they switch on their computer, or lying in bed looking at your email because you've used your phone as an alarm clock before you've even got out of bed, before you've even said good morning to your children or your husband, and you're into work. So it's not as easy as setting office boundaries, but here's the tip that I would give. Spin it around, and like even listening to this call right now, from this call, take away the question, when do I not want to work? Okay. And if you are somebody that takes, like, your work has just taken over, which it's very, very easy for it to do, start small. Start with, okay, I don't work on a Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon is sacrosanct. I don't work then. Now, if you feel like being a bit braver, you might say all day on Sunday, I don't work. And by the way, I'm just picking Sunday as an example. I have one client that loves working on Sundays and she has Saturdays off. And myself now, I don't work Saturdays or Sundays. But take from this, when do I not want to work? And set those hours. That's the muscle to start practicing. And the reason I say start small is we don't want to let ourselves down. You know, you could start by going, oh, I never want to work past 5 o'clock and I never want to work before 9 a.m. But if you've been working till 3 o'clock in the morning or getting up again at 6 to start working, it's kind of ungrounded to say that straight away. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's a bit like, I don't know, saying I haven't been to the gym for a long, long time and now I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. It wouldn't really work. So just start small. When do I not want to work? And, you know, let the people you love know that. But it's also why I'm saying start small, because your word around this area is a bit weak at the moment. You know what I mean? My word, oh, I don't want to work. I don't want to work. And there I was still at 3 a.m. So my husband's listening for me was, well, she's working all the time. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to work for 2 hours on a Sunday. And he held me to account around it. Wasn't always easy, but he held me to account around it. So yeah, that's what I'd share around that. Does that help?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just I think these tips are really useful, and I'm really thankful for you to share them with us in the community. Is there before I think we should wrap up because
Yes, I know. We had. I really acknowledge us, Anne, for getting on this Google Hangout. We had our own time issues, didn't we, in terms of trying to
yes,
download apps. So yay us that we did it. And
I
I know
know.
time is short.
So is there anything that you think we should finish on, just to get
Sure.
people?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to share something with you. And actually, what I will share is I've got this written down as a PDF. So if people would like to have this as a free gift, you can go to my website, kategerry.com. And on that homepage, there's a little sign up box. And it says download your brilliant workday. And actually, I can't even remember the exact words it says underneath, but it's got 3 simple time-saving tips. So I'm just going to share one of those here to finish with, but you can actually get the longhand version of that on that PDF. So kategerry.com, just go to the home page and in the sign up box. I'll also send you my newsletter, which comes out about every 2, sometimes 3 weeks at the moment. And there's always a little takeaway tip in there, something very practical that you can use. And it's often around creating time and space. So that's kategerry.com. Just go and sign up there for this tip. And here's what I'm going to share with you. Here's my, I've got an iPhone. You might have an iPhone, you might have something different. But this is brilliant. Now, we know lots of things on there can be very distracting, of course, namely emails in the morning. We've talked about those. But this is my friend, really, when it comes to being very productive and getting things done. And what I do is I set the timer on this. And I like to do this first thing in the morning. So I'll have half an hour of productivity before I open my email inbox. Because in your email inbox, everybody else is setting your agenda for your day. So the moment you go in there, doesn't matter how disciplined you are, and I know you'll know what I mean, and I know when I've done it, this, boy, you are off in a gazillion different directions. Oh my gosh, I didn't do this. Oh my gosh, I didn't do that. Oh, I really need to get, oh my gosh, look at that newsletter, and you're away. And before you know it, it's 12 o'clock. Then it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't got anything done. But before you started your day, I bet pretty much you were clear about at least one thing you wanted to get done during the day. So here's the tip, and it's written out on that PDF a bit more in longhand, so you can kind of read it as a step-by-step and just follow it through. Take your phone. You don't actually have to have a phone if you don't want to. You could use a kitchen egg timer or anything that keeps the time for you. And a post-it note and a pen. Write on the post-it note one thing you want to get done for your business. Stick it in front of you. Set the text before you open your email inbox and go. Okay, so now the timer is running. You've got 30 minutes. You're against the clock, if you like. And the mission you have is to get that one thing on that post-it note done. Now, word of warning, don't write something on the post-it note that actually is a project and not a task. What do I mean by that? I don't know. Clear out the whole of the garage is probably ungrounded to do in half an hour, right? But clean out one box in the garage, you could do, okay? Or, make one sales call, not kind of make 20 sales calls. And that one tip has made a massive difference. I was going to say immeasurable. It really is immeasurable difference in my business, because when you open your inbox, for example, the first thing, or you do all the busy stuff, go on Facebook or open your inbox, a whole day can go past and you've been very busy, but you actually haven't done anything to grow your business. So it takes a bit of discipline, because quite honestly, our fingers are very used to just clicking, yes, open my inbox. And some people, we even have it open up first thing. If that's you, I really recommend not having it open up first thing. Take that off, that automated opening up. And just use your timer on your phone or a kitchen timer and just focus for that 30 minutes. First thing, if you like working first thing, if you're more of a night person, you might do that at the end of the day. You know what's your optimum time to do that. And imagine 30 minutes every day working on something that you say is important. That's going to make a difference to your business. So I think that's one of my favorite time management tips, Anne. Grab your phone or a timer and use it to get stuff done for you.
Thank you very much, Kate. So I'll let you go because I'm aware you're super busy. I'll write this up and we'll share that with all our community, and I'll put the links that you have given us so that people can go and get this extra resources.
Wonderful, Anne. Thank you so much. And I'm thrilled we made Google Hangouts work. Yay,
Yes,
us.
Okay.
And I look forward to speaking again very, very soon. Or final thing, if people want to connect with me, it's at Kate Gerry Coach on Twitter. I'd love to hear how you get on using the tips. Or Kate Gerry Coaching on Facebook. So, Anne, I'll let you have those links. And
yes, thank you.
Too. All right. Wonderful. Take lots of care. See you soon.
Bye-bye.